This is Brad from Argali, and today I'm going to show you how to properly wash our game bags to prolong the life of your game bags and get them ready to be used for your next trip. What you need to wash our game bags is there are essentially three things you need: a bucket, a little Dawn soap. This is dish detergent, not laundry soap, and then some hydrogen peroxide. And then obviously some bloody, soiled game bags. The first thing you want to do when you're washing our game bags is get a hose out, or you can do it in your sink as well, but let these things soak in water or spray them down and get all those little small meat chunks and hair off the inside and the outside of your game bags. It'll just save you a bit of trouble. Best way to do that is just saturate that fabric, and after that fabric is saturated for a few minutes, any little meat chunks or pieces of hair will come off much easier, and just spray them off. Should be really easy. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my bag, I'm gonna flip it inside out, because that's typically where you're gonna get those little meat and hair chunks. I'm just gonna lay it on the ground here and spray it off. I want to do this until the water runs clear. You can see that most of the blood is going to come out of the bag just by getting it wet. And you can also do this by soaking it in cold water in a bucket. You'll get most of that blood out, but it won't spray off all the meat and hair. Okay, I'm going to call that good. At this point in time, after you've rinsed out your bag, it's going to look mostly clean. Now, if you were out in the field and you were in camp and you wanted to use our bags like twice on, you killed an animal, you had a creek nearby, and then you wanted to go use the game bag for another animal, you could certainly do it. It would not be disinfected, but after you rinse them out in a creek or with a hose, they're gonna be, for the most part, ready to go again. But we highly recommend that you disinfect your bags. And the next step in the process into doing that is taking your bags, put them in a bucket, and then taking some hydrogen peroxide. And all you're gonna do is, there's still some yellow stains from the blood on this bag. You're gonna kind of just spray some hydrogen peroxide on the bag and really kind of work that hydrogen peroxide really well into the fabric. And that's gonna help bring those stains out and also disinfect your bag. Okay, so now I've doused the bag with hydrogen peroxide. I'm gonna let that sit for 5 to 10 minutes and no longer. So make sure you set a timer. If you let the hydrogen peroxide sit on that fabric for longer than 10 minutes, it can start to eat away at the fabric itself as well as the reflective logos. So make sure you don't let it sit for any longer than that. The beauty of hydrogen peroxide too is that it's going to not only get rid of all the bacteria in your game bags, but if you get any hydrogen peroxide on your clothes while you're dealing with it, it's not going to cause those sort of bleach stains that you can get with bleach. Okay, I've let the bag soak for about 7 minutes, so I didn't even need to go the full 10 minutes. And at this point in time, your bags are gonna be clean. So I could stop right now, just take my bags, rinse them out with some cold water until I get all that hydrogen peroxide out, and then hang them to air dry. Now, if you've left your bags, sit for months because you got home after your hunt and you threw them in a corner and you kind of forgot about them, or if you shot an animal that had a lot of fat on it, and that fat might have worked its way into your fabric, there's one more step that doesn't take very long, and it's going to help get all the fat out of your fabric. The other thing I'll say is, if you do this with hydrogen peroxide and you still have some yellowing on your game bags and that's really bothering you, even though they'll be disinfected, if you want to get them kind of back to that pure white stage, you can repeat this process with hydrogen peroxide a second time to really try and get them back to that natural white color. So next step, I'm going to fill this bucket up with a little bit of water, and then we're going to put a little bit of Dawn detergent in there. All right, now I'm going to take a little bit of Dawn and put just a few drops of this in here in the water. Okay, that's good. I'm gonna mix it in with my hand. Kind of work it into the fabric just a little bit. So notice I'm using cold water for this, and that's really important. You don't want to use warm water because warm water will bake in those blood proteins into the fabric. So make sure you use cold water throughout this entire process when you're washing or putting soap in the bucket. Now I'm gonna let this sit for about an hour, 1 to 2 hours, and that's gonna get everything, any last remaining pieces of material, fat, etc. out. All right. Now after I've let these game bags kind of sit in this bucket for a while, next step is simply I'm going to turn that hose back on. I'm going to rinse them out to get all the soap out of them, and then I'm just going to leave them to air dry. And that's really important. You do want them to air dry. Don't put them in your dryer, and mostly because it will cause your reflective logos to come off. But once you do that, you're done, and you can put them away once they're dry, and they'll be ready for your next hunt.